Okay, so welcome to I guess the very first alumni time management workshop. Now, from now on, I'm going to be in charge of all alumni activities. So I'm going to make sure that you guys receive the type of support that you need. So I'm assuming that most of you, I hope so anyway, that you've already done one of the courses or maybe twice. So let me know if you haven't, but if you have, let me know as well. Like you're an alumni, you've done the 2-week thing with Rebel, and now you're like, okay, I've learned that. Now this is the continuous support that we're providing. Now, the reason I mentioned that is because then you'll be able to, like, if there's like any problems that you're facing in your business, just email us, like send us a Instagram message and let us know what kinds of workshops would benefit your business. Because the idea is that there was no continuous support with Rebel, right? So you do the 2 weeks and you're like, oh my God, it's so amazing. And then you're like, I need this part to get into detail about this section and this, and then there's nothing else. So now we're trying to make sure that you get continuous support in your business so that you do start to see success. All right. Let me just make sure I can see everything. Okay. Yay, thanks, Helen. All right, let's get this party started. So, as you can see, I put the Rebel Business School like at the Rebel Business School. So if like there's at the end of this thing, I would love it if you should share like one thing that you're gonna like go away and take action on, and share it on social media. It's a really good way to showcase that there are workshops going on for other alumni, and also like gives your business that kind of like spotlight when we reshare it. So it's the Rebel School if you do want to share anything about this workshop. Amazing. Okay, let's get started. All right, so before I do anything, I like to reflect, right? And the reason I like to reflect on things is because you have to know where you are before you receive any type of help. It's sort of like when the doctor asks you, what are your symptoms? What's going on with you? And then they'll be able to help, right? But before you know where you are, you can't really like know what to focus on and what areas you're missing. So just now, like I want you to just take like a few, wait, am I sharing? Okay, I'm not sharing. Okay, so I'm going to share the slide now so you can see the questions that I want you to take a few minutes to answer. Okay, there are no right and wrong answers here, so try and do your best to answer these questions as much as you can. Now, you have the option to do it privately, or you can like share it in the chat below. Okay, so if at any point I ask you to do a task and then that task is something that you don't end up completing during the workshop, just because we have a limited amount of time, make sure you complete it after the workshop. Okay. Okay, so I'm looking at some of the answers. Wow, look at this. Okay. Urgent. Yeah. Okay. Amazing. Like I can see that everybody's here for one reason. And hopefully by the end of this, we'll be able to sort out all these problems. Like before, I just plan confused. Oops. Okay. Okay, so this is everybody's answering over. Okay, lovely, Melissa. Thank you for getting in there really quickly. It's 15%. What do you think the percentage of people that don't plan is? Like they don't plan their time. What is it? Sorry, that not that don't plan. Sorry, I changed it like last minute. That do plan. So, okay, brilliant. Okay, so 82% of people, and this is kind of being generous, don't plan for anything. They just kind of react to things, right? And which means the it's actually 12%. So some of you got it really close. Anybody that said 10 or more, that's like amazing guess. So only a certain number of people plan, right? Now, can you think about like the difference between these two people? What is the difference between someone that does plan and someone that doesn't plan, right? So you really have to think about that. Like, so there are certain like there are reasons why people don't plan, obviously. And some of these reasons I looked at in the chat, you've already said, right? So tell me if any of these things relate to how you feel right now. Like, do you feel like if you plan your time, it will limit your freedom? You're too busy kind of reacting to things because there's a million things that you're doing, or you just don't have time to plan. So these are the main reasons why people don't plan. But I would love to know why you don't plan. Like, is it one of these things or is it something else? Did I get the calculations wrong? I think I got the calculations wrong, didn't I? Yes, that whatever the percentage is, guys. I'm sorry. I'm a bit all over the place today. But yeah, let's like whatever. So 82% minus 100, isn't it 12? I imagine that it was 12, or is it 18?
No, 18.
Okay, it's 18. Yeah, so I think it's less than that, honestly. I think there's like something else in there, but it's around that. The idea is to show you that there's a small percentage of people that plan. And now I'm going to show you like the difference between the two, right? Wait, before we go there. So now, I don't know if you've heard of this quote before, but there's a difference between when people plan and when people don't plan. So imagine that you have a destination, which all of you do have a destination, right? All of you want to reach a certain point. You want to sell more, you want to grow your social media, whatever it is that you want to do, you have a goal. Now, when you do have a goal, when you do plan, I've kind of drew this thing where all the destinations go to that same goal. But as long as you know like where you're going, all like roads lead to that, right? So imagine that like you take a different route, or you decide that, okay, I'm gonna take the scenic route, or I'm gonna take the shortcut, or through the forest, whatever it is, you're always gonna end up at the end of this because you know exactly where you're going. Now, the difference is like there are people like that, and there are people that don't know where they're going. So they kind of have a vague idea, but then they're just going to react to different things and they will never see progress. And what I want to show you today is that by having a plan, you are more likely to reach your destination. By managing your time, you're going to be able to see progress. You're going to be able to see results. So today's like workshop, we're focusing on time management, and the benefits are you will get more freedom. You'll be able to use your time effectively. You'll be able to accomplish more, and you'll be able to have more opportunities and more self-discipline. So these are I mean, this is what I'm aiming for you guys once you start implementing the system that I show you today. So like I said, with planning is better time management. So now I'm going to go through, oops, I went too fast there. The 7 steps to better planning. So this is when I want you guys to actually start taking action. So it's not about, okay, I'm going to listen and then I won't do anything about it. At Rebel, we really do highly recommend action taking. If you're all here to improve your time management, then focusing on taking action when you do learn something is really, really important. So this is step number 1. Step number 1, I just call it brain dumping. What do you think I mean by brain dumping? Let me know in the comments. Right. So brain dumping is like a lot of you have answered, which is, I mean, you have such great answers there. But what it is basically you take everything that's in your mind, whatever it is, like it could be with your kids, the house, a party you have to plan next week. Everything gets downloaded onto that piece of paper. I like to use technological terms so that like, because I'm always on the computer. So you're literally getting, you're making sure that these things are not staying in your mind. Because do you know what happens when you just leave it in your brain? What happens is that the processor keeps going. Oh, I have to do the washing. Oh, I have to plan this party. Oh, I have to go and, pick up the kids at school later next week. So everything is working. And there's like decision fatigue. There's lots of things that are going on in your mind. And what tends to happen is you feel exhausted before you've even tackled the first task, right? So the idea is this is one of the most important steps that you can do. Now, I want you to do that right now. I'm going to give you just like 1 minute, but I want you to like obviously carry this on until every single thing that you have to do is out and on that piece of paper. Every single thing. From like needing to buy groceries. And then once you have those headers, don't just write, oh, I have to do this. Make sure that you create bite-sized tasks underneath that big task that you're thinking about as well. So if you have to build a website, I don't want you to write, build a website. It doesn't help. What you're going to do instead is you're going to say, oh, I need to plan the homepage. What is the website for? Like, so you're going to like divide it into meaningful bite size steps. Mm. Right. I hope you had a go at that. Like, I don't want you to just be like, oh, okay, like this is what I'm gonna do this later. It's always better if I'll explain to you what that means, like different types of tasks and how to organize them. So now I'm thinking you have this piece of paper, right? Usually the best actually way to do this is have a piece of paper and write down every single thing that you have to do. Yeah, so Melissa asked, I was going to write a planner website, but that is just caused me to have a brain fart now that I need to be. So planning a website is one of the steps, actually, building a website. So building a website would be the main header, then plan would be the second part, right? And then even the planning the website, which pages are you going to plan? What specifically are you going to complete? Because what we tend to do is say we are going to do this much stuff, and we don't break it down, which just seems like impossible when you do try to put it on the calendar later. So it's really, really, I got most of the webs. Okay, cool. So whatever you have to do, break it down. That's the only thing I'm asking is don't write these big things that you probably even won't know how long it takes. Maybe sometimes it will take you weeks to complete that project, but that will be your main goal to focus on. So step 2, sorry. I want you, like if you're doing something else right now or playing games, I want you to come back to me right now because this part is like an important section and I want you to really understand it so that you're not making these same mistakes. And I used to make these same mistakes as well. So just come back to me now. So if you're multitasking, come back. So this is number 2. Once you have your long list of things and you've like detailed them out and you've made bite-sized tasks under them, there's something called the matrix, time matrix, which is similar to the Eisenhower, sorry, I forget names sometimes, Eisenhower matrix, like that box. It's very similar, but this one makes more sense to me. Whereas the other one, there are certain things that just like confuses me a little bit. So I'm going to explain to you exactly what these mean and how you can apply your task. So you've just finished writing every single task you have to do for the week. So it's not for like the next, I don't know, year. It's just for this week. What are the tasks that you have to complete? Now, there are 4 quadrants here. The first one is necessity, right? You have tasks that are urgent and important. So both urgent and important tasks. Now, what are some of these tasks? Some of these tasks might be an appointment at the hospital. These are urgent and important. You can't miss these tasks, right? Meeting a critical deadline would be something else. Handling a crisis like the kitchen's on fire, they would be necessity and urgent and important at that point in time, right? So it's both urgent and important for the first one. Urgent and important. So things that you have to deal with, you know, something happens at school and the school asks you to come and pick up your child because something has like happened in school or whatever it is, or there was a lice breakout in school and you have to like respond to that. You can't just ignore it, right? And it needs your immediate attention. Now there's the second part, which is it's called the leadership quadrant, which is important but not urgent tasks. Important but not urgent. Now, what do these consist of? This quadrant consists of planning, right? Education, what you guys are doing now, like learning, exercising, career development, anything that like doesn't need to be done like right away. But if you spend time in this little quadrant, it will give you the most results. Right? And this is, people don't like spending time in this quadrant. And I'll ask you where you think people like to spend their time in a bit. I'd love to know your guesses, but I'm going to move on to the next one, which is the deception quadrant. Now, the deception quadrant is just anything you feel like, oh my God, it's urgent. Oh my God, like I need to do it. And usually it's like doing other people's tasks. Someone tells you, hey, you need to do this task for me. Could you go and do it? And you're like, oh, okay, I have to do that task because this person has claimed that it's urgent. Yes. So these tasks are like tasks like, for example, unnecessary meetings. Have you ever like been in a meeting where you're like, oh my God, this could easily have just been like one sentence, but people like to kind of carry on talking for no apparent reason. So these are like the tasks you feel like, oh my God, they must be urgent, but they're actually not. And then we have the last one, which this one's probably the easiest to understand, which is just, I always like to say that it's watching Netflix, surfing the web, doing the extra research that you need to do for that one task that you have to do for your business, playing games, surfing the like web, mindless activities. So sitting on the couch, just kind of spending your time doing absolutely nothing. So now that you have a little bit of an understanding of these quadrants, which one do you think, A, you spend your most of your time in, and B, like the majority of people spend their time in? Let me know in the comments. Yes. Kat Taylor, I suppose important is relative. Yes, it is relative. Exactly. Because you guys have your own businesses, you have to define what's important, right? but sometimes there are certain things that are good for you, that are important, but you tend to like be like, oh, okay, I'll do that later. For me, exercise is one of them. 1,000,000% I will. It's so hard for me to just go and exercise. And I know it's good for me, right? Maybe I won't see results right now, but the more I do it, the more I will feel stronger and I'll have more energy. I know it's good for me, but I just like, I'm like, oh, I will do it later. So yes, you're right in terms of like you define what's important, but there are certain things that are important to move your business forward. But because you ignore it and you're like, I'll do that later, maybe it has like it takes a small percentage of your time, you don't see progress. So you guys are, most of you are right that we do spend the most of our time, especially at work, in the deception quadrant, because we think it's important time we're spending. You are led to believe that you are making progress when there's no progress being made. Are you with me so far? So that's where you guys are at, like either the default waste quadrant or the deception. I just saying. Okay. Okay, so I can't wait to talk to you guys at the end. Then I can. Okay, so now that you know like these 4 quadrants, what I want you to do is like your list of things that you've done in a week. I want you to be like, okay, that's important. That's like urgent, right? Like, do you get where I'm like, you're dividing into different sections and you are consciously understanding the type of tasks that you have committed to. Like, obviously you guys are like working for yourself, but sometimes you do things maybe for your customers that doesn't require you to do it like right away, but you think, oh my god, if I don't do it at this time, I'm going to be seen as not doing it properly, or I'm going to be seen as not delivering good customer service. So try to figure out like where you are, like where the tasks stay whenever you are allocating, or you like you're looking at your tasks and you're like, okay, these are the most important tasks, I need to get those done, and then everything else falls under that. So this is where you should be hanging out. That's why I put a nice little arrow there. It's so dramatic, like 1 arrow. So I want you to spend all of your time chilling out in this area. And the reason for that is because you want to be doing long-term planning. And I'll give you an example. So back in the days, I used to avoid doing anything that I felt like, oh, I have to do that again. It's okay, I don't have to do that. Like, for example, creating a blog, right, for my website. I would say, okay, like I can do that later. So I started it off, but I was like, okay, I'm not going to do that. Or my YouTube videos. Sometimes I would say, I'm going to just do it maybe once a month. Or sometimes I'll say, oh, I think I'm going to just push that to next month. But what I learned is this was an important task. This was what was bringing in my customers. So when I didn't do them, it just stopped. First of all, it made my customers feel like, okay, they can't trust me because I didn't produce weekly videos. So because and at the time I kind of justified that creating posters was much better, much more fun, but that wasn't the important task that I should be that I was supposed to be focusing on. And one more thing I want to add to this is that the less time you spend on the more time, sorry, you spend on the leadership quadrant, the less time you will be in the urgent and important. So I'll say that again. The more time you spend on the important and not urgent, the less time you're going to be spending on the necessity, urgent, important section. And actually everywhere else. So step 3, now you have all your tasks. What I want you to do is, and now this is like a part that's like, oh, it's so important, but many people fall under this, oh, I will just make this little thing a little bit better, or I will tweak this, I'll do it again. And then you end up falling into this working on one task that should have taken 10 minutes, like you're spending the entire day working on it. Now, of course, this has a lot to do with, perfectionism. You want things to look perfect. You want your customers to be like, oh my God, like everything is amazing. So you kind of don't want to put things out there that you deem to be not that great. Now, by setting time, you're falling under this B+ task. And to see progress, you need to avoid tasks being perfect, right? You want to have mediocre, not mediocre, but I'm sure even if you like aim for B+, it's still going to be amazing. But to you, it's going to be like, it's not that great. But to everybody else, it's like amazing. But because you're trying to perfect that video, trying to perfect whatever task that you were supposed to do, you end up not putting it out there. No one ever gets to see it. And I'm talking from experience, guys. I would spend 4, 5, 6 days on one YouTube video because I thought to myself, it has to be perfect. And that's the only way I will see any progress. And that was the wrong way to think, because when you're starting out as an entrepreneur, you need to do things really badly before you do it well. Those videos, I expect to see things in the background that are like terrible. I expect it to not be high quality. You like a lot of people talk about quality versus quantity, right? And it's this thing everybody knows, quality is better than quantity. With entrepreneurship, from experience, please remember this, quantity is far better than quality. You need to like produce, create, produce. And over time, without even trying, you are going to get better anyway. But because we have this ideology of, oh, I must make it perfect, you end up doing 1 or 2 things for your business and you're not seeing any progress. And so how does this work? You have a task, say, for example, you have to, somebody give me a task in the comments that you have to do. That's one of your tasks that you've allocated. I mean, that you've written down in the brain dump section. Update email list. What do you mean by that? Update CV. Okay, cool. So update CV shouldn't take you longer than 30 minutes to do. Choose how much time you want to spend. And if you don't know, just guess, because over time, you'll know how long it takes. And as soon as the 30 minutes is done, you're stopping. There's no more, oh, I'll give it that 1 more minute, or I'll give it 5 more minutes. None of that. 30 minutes and you're done with that task and you're moving on to the next thing that you have to do. So throughout all your tasks, allocate the amount of time each task is going to take. Now, this is something that I found difficult when I used to do that. Whenever I allocate a task, I say to myself like, oh, I'll just give myself 15 more minutes and this will be even better. Train yourself to say 12 o'clock until 1, this task is going to be complete. It's going to be done. It's going to be out there. And the more you train yourself to do that, the more you're going to be producing more things. Obviously, it's not going to be at a gazillion quality percentage, whatever, but you're going to see progress because you're not procrastinating. You're not taking more time where you should be spending the time like bringing in customers and so on into your business. Now, when you do like try to time yourself with this task, make sure that you use some sort of other timer. Don't use your phone, because when you're doing your focused tasks, you need to have something else that tells you the time. Usually what I use is just go on Google, pull up a web page and get a timer up there instead of using my phone, because with phones you have like urges to like open up different apps. So you want to just get rid of your phones so that you can actually complete this task fully. Now, if there's a task that needs research, for example, you need to do those tasks before you come to that. So for example, if you needed to create a post about time management, and obviously you needed research for that, you need to do a lot of research. And then what ends up happening is that you allocate time for the research. And then when you come and actually produce the work, you're not thinking about anything else except for creation mode. So the next step is to group certain tasks together. So if you can, set days for different things. So you have creative days. If you're an artist, that day is allocated for creation, for ideas, and so on. Because if you do that, it actually allows your brain to work better. When you swap from one task to the next, to the next, to the next, which I imagine some of you do, because I used to do that, it actually takes up a lot of energy and it makes you feel tired by the end of the day. So make sure that you're grouping them together. And say you have one day where you're like, all the appointments are going to go in on that day, doctor's appointments. Then I know this is not something you can always do, but say somebody says, hey, like, what time would you like to meet this week? You already in your mind, you know that Mondays are allocated for that time. So you immediately go, okay, Monday at 3 o'clock, I can do that. So your brain is not shifting from one to the other. Example, I have to go to the dentist on the 5th, whatever. Like, I'm just making this up. I don't need to go to the dentist. But that is like time where you're like, okay, I'm going to already be out. I might as well go and do the shopping, buy the things I need to do, like buy for the house, visit this, or whatever it is that you need to do outside. So allocating them all together. Okay, again, I'm doing that whole, if you're doing something else, come back to me again. I want your full attention. One of the things that I always avoided is hard tasks. I always leave it till the end. Tell me in the comments if you're one of those people that are like, okay, I'm just going to do the nice ones, the creating, the whatever it is that I enjoy doing, and you avoid the hard work. Let me know if I'm not alone in the comments. But I believe that everyone is extraordinary. And the only thing that makes them different, is that they avoid hard work, right? And what I mean by that is like, do you have to do your taxes? Like, you're like, okay, I'm going to leave it to the last hour to do my taxes. And those are like the important tasks, right? So exactly, I try to eat the frog first. Exactly, Janet. Brilliant. The idea here is that when you're doing the tasks, you're focusing on the hard tasks first. So I'm going to just give you like a few details about how you can do this. Just see if I've. So what you need to do is, now you're going to be, did I miss? Oh, no, I didn't. Okay. So this is the one. Okay. Sorry, guys. I'll get better at this. You're going to be adding time block means you're going to add it to the calendar. Google Calendar is my go-to calendar. You have that piece of paper. Now you need to take everything on that piece of paper and put it on the calendar. If you can color code it, even better. You add everything and you're like, okay, but before you add in everything, I'm going to tell you the steps. First, you add all the urgent appointments, things, meetings that you have to go to. Then add your breaks, lunchtime, break time, fun stuff that you have to, like, you want to do, right? Because we have lives outside of entrepreneurial life, right? Like we do. I know we don't, but like, I'm going to pretend that we do. And I'm going to encourage you to go out there and do other things other than just working all day. If you're like me, like I am so guilty of this. It's important that you add the fun stuff on the calendar first. Spending time with your kids, if you have any children, going to the park, whatever it is that you do for fun, you add that to the calendar first. Because those are the times actually when you give your brain a rest and you come back refreshed and you do your best work. There's this like scarcity mentality that entrepreneurs have, because I know how it feels like, where you're like, well, if I go and spend this much time, I'm going to just miss out on all this. I'm supposed to be doing this. The work will still be there. Like it's not going anywhere. And you have the freedom to, I know not all of you, some of you have work, like, and you have a business, which is insane, but amazing, but which means that time management is even more important for you. Now, once you're done with the appointments and the fun tasks, the next thing is the important tasks, right? Like I spoke to you about the time matrix. And you add the most important tasks that will move the needle forward, that will move your business forward. What are the most important things on that list that if you just get those things done, you're going to be really, really happy that you've accomplished that. Now, once you've like added everything on the calendar, you'll get rid of that piece of paper. Like, tear it up, throw it away. If you don't know how to use a calendar, there's like a gazillion, I'm making up a number, videos showing you how to use it on YouTube. So check that out and learn how to use a calendar, because not only does it give you like reminders, it tells you what's going on. My calendar sends me an email every day saying, this is what you have to get done today. And these are the times, so that I'm aware where to focus and I'm not focusing everywhere. Yeah, and so Melissa says, I'm going to pin a piece of paper on the wall. So having like a little booklet as things come up, add it to that list. And so that every week you have one day where you're like, this is that 1 hour where I plan my week. I plan the things I have to do. And then on Friday, what do? You review. So I'll talk about that in a bit, but I want to talk quickly about this, then I'll move on to the last part, which is being present in your task, getting rid of distractions and having quality amount of time and like to do tasks. What I mean by that is like, when you are focused, there's no distractions. You are like an athlete. You're like, I know what I need to do within this hour, and there's no distractions. There's nothing that's going to get in the way of me completing this task. You guys like stop making me laugh while I'm teaching. I'm like getting distracted. I'm like, oh God. But I'm kidding. Yeah, so then the next thing is like practicing being focused within that time, not getting distracted. Don't check social media. These are like very simple things you probably already know, but we don't get enough focus time. And what focus time means is when you actually create something, when you actually produce something. It's not the research, it's not the preparation, is the actual thing that's going to get you like moving forward and getting your business to bring results. Right. So like I said before, that's the final step. So on Friday, Choose 1 hour on Friday, usually at the end of the day, which you can review and say, well, that didn't work. I need to do that better for next week. I needed more time on this task because it was impossible to do it in 5 minutes. Or I can only do one task a day because I have other things that I need to do. So be really like realistic with yourself and the tasks that you have to do. And you know what would be great is like if you guys maybe connected with each other on the Facebook group and you're like, why don't we do this together? We'll brain dump, put it on the calendar so you have someone else that says, okay, don't get distracted. And like that's what I like about meeting people on Zoom. And we don't even speak, we mute ourselves and we're just like, okay, for this 1 hour, this is what I'm going to do. What are you going to do? And then we share and then we mute ourselves. And that for 1 hour, we unmute ourselves afterwards and say, okay, what did you accomplish? So having someone else, maybe you need someone else to help you with that. So some final tips. If it takes less than 5 minutes, do it immediately. That should just be a rule. Anything that takes like less than 5 minutes to do. And the reason I put the little thing, you need to create your own set of rules. So if it's maybe 10 minutes or maybe it's 15 minutes for you, anything that is less than that, then go ahead and do it immediately. Don't wait around. Don't try to put it on the calendar because it just becomes bigger and bigger and then causes anxiety and causes decision fatigue, which just makes you tired before you've even begun doing anything. Like I mentioned before, don't avoid important tasks. That's another tip. Focus on the boring tasks that no one can see you doing, but you know in the long term, it is going to help you with your business. So think about that for your business. What does that mean? Does it mean going live on Instagram daily? Does that mean creating weekly content for your people or creating the actual product? What is it to you that's like, oh man, I wish I didn't have to do this? Those are the ones that are actually going to just 1 second. Working at home sucks sometimes. Okay. Sorry. Yeah, so let's go back to that and then prioritize fun time and breaks and be results oriented. What is it that you're trying to achieve, right? Rather than doing a little bit here, a little bit there. What is it that you want to like going back and saying, okay, by then in the next 3 months, I want to be able to do like finish my website or sell this many things or whatever it is for you. Checking on Friday, did I achieve these results? So at the beginning of the week, you're the CEO, planning your day and making decisions. And then at the end of the day, you're the CEO again. In between, you're just an employee. Sorry to say, but you're just an employee and you're just following instructions. And the minute you can separate those two, you'll be able to see that, okay, like I can totally just do the task. I don't have to think about it. Oh, I have to write emails now. Oh, I have to like record a video. There's no thinking, there's no decision making. And one more thing I would like to add is that I'll give you an example. When there's something called like the monkey brain, where when we make decisions on the spot, we actually make terrible decisions. Planning allows you to make strategic, incredible decisions because we're using a different part of our brain. So when you do plan, know that it is in the long term, you are helping yourself immensely rather than reacting to things, which when we react, you tend to make bad decisions. Like for me, for example, I eat junk food at the end of the night because I feel like I haven't planned what I'm going to eat for the day, or I feel really, really tired at the end of the day. So I won't make the good decisions. Know that about yourself and make sure you allocate the right tasks at the right time. So the important tasks in the morning, so that you get those out of the way. And then as the day goes, you're focusing on other tasks. So I'm going to talk about your homework now. Of course, there's homework. What I want you to do is choose 1 hour in the next couple of days. You only have 3 days, okay? And do the steps that I just showed you. Like, do each step and make sure you add the tasks that you have to do for the next week. And give it a try. And maybe sometimes like these things won't work for you. And that's okay. Like, it's about like trying it out. And when things become difficult, know that it's okay that, like, for it to be difficult. It's okay for it to like be extremely hard, because that's the whole point of habit building and trying new things that maybe you've never tried before. It's going to be very, very difficult. And you should expect that. You should expect it to be extremely hard at the very beginning. You shouldn't expect it to be easy, right? So when you expect things to be hard, you're like, okay, this is meant to be hard. Your brain is going to say, oh my God, I don't really want to do this task. And what ends up happening is like, you don't do that task. But that's why you break it down into smaller pieces and allow your brain to say, okay, we'll just do 5 minutes, finding ways to just do the tasks without procrastinating and letting your brain win. Because essentially all we want to do is just sit in our beds and be all comfy and cozy, like eating. I'm joking. But yeah, so that's the end of the, what's it called? The session, the first session. Hopefully, you know, you guys walk away feeling like you, I mean, even if you've just learned one little thing today, that would make me like really happy if you just take action, like you actually go and do something about it. Yeah, so that's that's the end of this workshop. Do you guys have any questions that I can answer? I know there's like a million things I wanted to cover, but I tried to simplify. So if you have any questions about certain areas, I would love to answer them now.
You're going to do this regularly then? So we can meet up again. I missed the very beginning.
Helen, hi.
Hi.
So yeah, so like the idea is that to provide workshops. So the next workshop is going to be on sales, because to me, I think that's like one of the most
I'll come to
things.
all of them.
Okay,
But
amazing.
so is it going to be, if I can, is it going to be like same time each week?
No, so I've already put it in the calendar, but what we do is like we advertise it on Instagram.
Right. Okay.
That's where, and I'm gonna start also sharing it inside our Facebook group. Like
Yeah.
any events that come up, I always tell people like a week or two.
I think I found this one on Facebook, I think, and then booked it through Eventbrite. So
Is it the one Simon shared this morning?
no,
Yeah, everybody's
no,
nodding.
no.
Okay, so now I know that you
a
guys
few days
checked.
ago.
Good,
So
sorry.
I booked on a few days ago, but or I'm not sure when it was, but it was a while back. It wasn't this morning.
Uh,
So just be good to know when the next ones are to get them booked in our calendar so we can work around them.
yeah, exactly. No, so this is literally, I planned this like, I think 2 weeks ago. I was like, okay, we need to just get started. And the idea is that we want feedback from everyone. We want to know what you're struggling with the most,
Okay.
and then providing that.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Workshops.
That's
Yeah.
really good. So we just need to know
Amazing.
when they are.
Yeah, we will let you know. I think what we're planning to do, because it's still completely new, the alumni section, it's 2 weeks old. But let me tell you what's happening so you guys know what's going on. So at the end of each month, I've already booked it, so I'm going to share that with you guys. There's a networking event.
Oh, fabulous. Yeah.
That which I was like, this is like needed for the alumni. So at the end of each month, the first one is going to be on the 31st of July. So this month, and it's going to be on a Saturday, just because I was like, okay, let's try weekends, because most people are free on Saturday. It's going to be at 6 p.m. So I'm letting you guys are like the first like to know, but I think it's already available for people to sign up actually. Okay, bye, Karen. Thanks for joining. Amazing. So yeah, so that's something else that's happening. And in terms of knowing what's going on, I'm going to be adding it to the website, the Rebel Business School website. There's going to be a section where you'll find out all the events that are happening for alumni and also sharing it inside the Facebook group. So cool. Yeah, so don't forget to communicate with me. I have like, you can email us info at the Rebel School. Yeah, the rebelschool.com. I think that's the right email. Let me just double check with any suggestions that you have, right? So if you think, oh, bye everyone. So if you think, oh my God, let me just stop the recording.